All right, welcome back everybody to the Fordham Sports Analytics Roundup. I am your host, Aiden Baychamp, and Chief Marketing Officer, joined by my co-host and president, Naman Lakhani, as well as a new face and co-host, Vanessa Kosuda. So there's a lot of excitement around the club right now, around Fordham, around the city in general, because the Yankees, as we all know, are in the World Series. They're starting game one against the Dodgers tonight at 8 o'clock. It goes without saying that most baseball fans really didn't want to see either of these teams in the World Series. Not a lot of people like the Yankees, not a lot of people like the Dodgers, but we like the Yankees. We go to school in New York City. We're all from the area, so we're pretty big Yankees fans. We're excited. So we're doing a little overview of the World Series, going to go over the Dodgers offense and pitching, go over the Yankees offense and pitching, and make a little bit of predictions at the end. But these were easily the best teams in baseball this year. They have the two consensus best players in baseball, maybe two of some of the best players we'll see in our lifetimes in Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. And then, not to mention, there's also Juan Soto, there's Mookie Betts, Giancarlo Stanton, Freddie Freeman, Garrett Cole. The list goes on. There's probably like six, seven, eight Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers playing in this World Series. So it's safe to say, with the amount of star power, with these two iconic franchises, with an iconic rivalry, iconic World Series history, and massive TV markets, this is a pretty massive World Series, maybe one of the biggest ever, maybe one of the best matchups we'll ever see. So I'll turn it over to you guys, Naman and Vanessa. Are you, as Yankees fans, how are you guys feeling? Excited, nervous, but more importantly, how are you guys doing today?
I think the last week, speaking for myself and probably all Yankee fans, has just been a whirlwind of emotions, with excitement, nervousness, just all of that. The fact that it's been a long 15 years since we last made the World Series, it's just a lot to take in, but I'm super excited. Myself being a diehard Yankee fan since I was really young. And I have a quick, fun little story to share is when I was in kindergarten. I had actually created a poster that I actually have right here for my kindergarten class. And my teacher had hung it up. And every morning we track the Yankees and see whether they won the past night. I'm sure it's not 100% accurate considering I was 5 years old. But this was a fun little activity we had going. You can see different names like over here, like Jeter, Damon, Teixeira, A-Rod. And honestly, this is just what baseball is all about. And the fact that this is the one year that the Yankees won, like you see, we wrote on the back, Yankees win. And I'm just super excited for this year. I think I'm actually thinking about making another one just to, help our odds with the good luck. The baseball gods will be on our side. But just a quick little story I wanted to share.
Yeah, I say we share that with the club this week.
Yeah.
I'm personally very excited. This was one of the matchups that I was looking forward to possibly happening. I'm a little bummed that the Mets aren't in the World Series. I think a Subway Series could have been great, but it just matters that the Yankees are in it, and this is technically my first World Series that I'm experiencing because when it was in 2009, I was four, so I don't remember any of it. And this is just probably one of the biggest playoffs that I've even followed in general out of all the sports that I've watched. Just sitting in my room, just like anxiously sitting up in bed because I'm like scared about what's gonna happen. But I have very high hopes.
Yeah, it's a big series. We were all super young when the Yankees were last in the World Series. I was only 6 years old, and now I'm a senior in college, graduating in a few months. So it's really crazy. That's a long time for Yankees fans. You say 15 years to like most other MLB franchises. That's not a very long time. Like, because some teams haven't won it in like 70 years now with the Guardians or something. But the Yankees, 15 years is an eternity. So we're all really excited. So just want to look over the two teams for a little bit. Start first with the offense. I think it's fair to say the Dodgers do have the better offense, but the Yankees, I think, are kind of neck and neck with them. I think maybe the bottom of the Yankees order isn't as good as the Dodgers bottom of the order, but I think overall the Yankees power is there. They just have to hit better with runners in scoring position. That was a massive issue, I thought, through the first series and through the ALCS as well. But in this last series, they did really rely heavily on the long ball, and I think that's a really good sign because that's really what wins you postseason games, home runs in big spots. Obviously, we saw two big home runs in two huge spots from Stanton and Soto in Game 5. Another thing the Yankees. Oh wait, so yeah, does anybody want to talk about their base running because that's something that could really, really, really hurt them.
Yeah, I think especially some of the players like Glaber, Soto, and Rizzo really need to tighten things up. I know Jazz had a mistake there in the ALDS, I believe it was. I think if and the fact that there's so many different players that are doing it, it leads me to think that it's honestly a lot on the coaches and the decisions that they have the players make, especially our third base coach. So, though the players need to focus a little bit more, I think the coaches really need to nail down the fact that this is postseason baseball and these small mistakes cannot happen. And honestly, that game 3 that we lost with that crazy home run by Noel, that could have been prevented if Trevino had just not gotten picked off, considering he could have been driven in with a sac fly. So these small mistakes come back to bite you. Luckily, we were against the Royals and Guardians, and since we were pretty much a far better team than both of them, we were okay with those mistakes. But against the Dodgers, I don't think we can afford to make those mistakes, and we're really gonna have to tighten up.
Yeah, Naman, you said it perfectly. It kind of is now going to just become a point where it is a make or break in these games because they are such high stakes. And when you're going up against such a stacked team like the Dodgers, there really is no room for silly mistakes like that. And it's kind of embarrassing to see in a way, just because if you do lose from a stupid mistake like base running, which is pretty easy to nail down. I mean, I've played softball for years, so I know for a fact that it's pretty easy. Making those mistakes consistently can really affect you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just, I think it's really just a mental thing with them sometimes. It's not even a skill thing. I mean, I know they have some slow guys on the team, but it's just mental things. And, you kind of see your usual suspects with the base running. Glaber has always, he's been a bit of a head case, I guess is the best way to put it. He gets in his own head a little bit sometimes. He'll carry his at bats to the field sometimes if they're bad, and his base running is really another story. But one thing, base running doesn't matter if you just mash the baseball, and that's kind of been the Yankees' MO. That's kind of why their base running hasn't hurt them as much yet, but I could definitely see their base running hurting them at least one game this series. But if you just mash the baseball, nothing base running wise is going to hurt you. And obviously Stanton has been on an absolute mission this postseason. He just won ALCS MVP. There's really not a lot left to say about him. He's hit 5 home runs in the postseason. 4 of them came last series. If he hits one this series, and I imagine he will have tied Bernie Williams for most Yankees home runs in a single postseason, who hit 6 home runs in the legendary 1996 postseason. That did break a World Series drought as well. You also can't say enough about Judge and Soto. Maybe Judge hasn't been up to standard in the playoffs so far, but he kind of came around in the ALCS. But both Judge and Soto were top 3 in WRC plus this season. And fun fact, this is the first World Series that will feature the top 3 hitters in WRC plus in the regular season. So Judge is in first with 218, Otani at 181, and Soto at 180. Soto in particular has been really, really great this postseason. I think, a lot of Yankees fans watched that home run in Game 5 and were ready to put some extra numbers on that blank check to him. Well, I mean, I guess you couldn't even put numbers on it if it were a blank check. But He is just the second Yankee all time to hit a go-ahead home run in extra innings in the postseason, and the only other guy to do that was none other than our manager, Aaron Boone. So just a little that's a little bit on the Yankees offense. Obviously, we know that they're one of the better offenses in baseball this year. Same with the Dodgers. The Yankees' MO is really just mash the baseball a lot. I think the Dodgers probably get on base a little bit more than the Yankees and they run the bases a lot better. So Naman and Vanessa, what have you guys seen from the Dodgers offense so far this October and even in the regular season?
Yeah, so something I've seen is, like you've said, the Dodgers hitters have just been unstoppable. Though their pitching hasn't been crazy good, it's just their hitting since they're so dominant from 1 through 9. Every single hitter has really been putting together good at bats. Just to string some stats together, they've averaged 6.36 runs per game in the playoffs, which is pretty ridiculous, especially against good teams that you face in the playoffs. Then with the 785 OPS, both of these stats have led any other playoff team. And additionally, their 38.8% hard hit rate is really unmatched. And generally, teams tend to slow down a bit offensively for the playoffs just because they face such good pitching. But the Dodgers have not shown that at all. Of course, you can note the fact that the Mets don't necessarily have the best pitching, and they sort of that's in one aspect in the game they sort of lack. So the Dodgers were able to capitalize on that. But I think that's something to really keep an eye out for, considering that the Yankees hitters only averaged 4.78 runs per game. Um, of course, like I said, the Guardians, the Royals were both tougher matchups pitching wise, but I think this is just something that we'll really have to keep an eye out for. But something that does look good for the Yankees is they actually had a 49.1% hard hit rate, which actually far beats the Dodgers. So if they're able to string together some good at bats and keep hitting the ball hard, I think they do have a good shot.
Yeah, I think my only two concerns from the Dodgers offense perspective is Ohtani, of course. From October, he has a .934 OPS, and Mookie Betts has also been hitting really well. He's had 4 home runs this past series, or I think it was just October in general. And then you also have Freddie Freeman, but he is dealing with an ankle injury, so I don't know how much of an impact he's actually going to give. And then especially with our amazing starting pitchers, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the Dodgers' big three right there. Freeman, he is a little hobbled a little bit with that ankle. So, he'll always be a threat with the bat, but I definitely think, he might be missing a little something in his game. Obviously got to be careful with Ohtani and Mookie. Another guy I think the Yankees really have to look out for because he'll really kill you if you let him is Teoscar Hernandez has been really great this postseason. Tommy Edman was really great in that last series. So it's just a really interesting matchup, I think. But it's really going to be two powerhouse offenses going up against each other. And I really do think it's up to who has the better pitching this series. And overall, I think the Yankees do have the edge pitching wise. I think for sure they have the better and deeper rotation. You got Garrett Cole in game one, followed by Carlos Rodon, Clark Schmidt, Luis Heel, and then you have Nestor Cortez coming out of the bullpen. I think he'll kind of be used as like a middle relief or long relief guy, lefty specialist kind of thing. But the Dodgers rotation, it's a little thin. It's not that it's bad, it's not as good as it is at full strength. Obviously they lost Tyler Glass now. Uh, a couple other guys I think too. I can't really think of them on top of my head for some reason, but their rotation is just Jack Flaherty going game one, followed by Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That'll be an interesting matchup, interesting storyline because the Yankees did really, really want Yamamoto this past offseason. And then game three for the Dodgers will be Walker Buehler, who really can't give a lot of length right now. I think like he's really just been going like 4 innings, and that's kind of it for him. And then they don't have a fourth starter. I imagine game 4 will be a bullpen game for them. Um, Combined in the postseason, Yankee starters have a 3.89 ERA and 44 innings pitched, with a 3.35 fielding independent pitching. And the Dodger starters have a 6.08 ERA and 40 innings pitched with a 5.59 fielding independent pitching. So I really think, a key for the Yankees, a key for both of these teams really is just get to those starters as early as possible. I think the Yankees really have to do that, because you have to really expose that Dodgers bullpen. Both bullpens have been really, really outstanding this postseason, kind of perfectly managed by both Boone and Dave Roberts. So, there's been a lot of talk about Aaron Boone's managerial job. Should he be fired? Should he not? Well, the Yankees are back in the World Series, and they're kind of back there because of his managing. But some standouts in the Yankees bullpen have been Luke Weaver, Tim Hill, Tommy Kahnle, and surprise, surprise, Clay Holmes has been pretty good. He did kind of have a bit of a hiccup in, I believe, what was that game
Game three.
three,
Yeah.
yeah, game 3 of the ALCS. But I really think that that game was kind of like an isolated incident. I think
Game
both
four, he
Weaver,
actually also blew though. He let up a couple of runs there in game four.
oh,
I
that's
believe it was a
right.
double, right? Yeah.
Did he come in with runners on base?
He did come in with runners on base, I believe,
Yeah,
but let up
they
a
should
double
not be doing
that,
that.
yeah.
I think I don't know why the Yankees do it, but you shouldn't really be bringing in Clay Holmes with runners on base because yeah, he's really amazing at allowing soft contact, not allowing hard contact. But he just gets the ball in play a lot, and bad things can happen if the ball is hit too soft, especially with the Yankees infield defense. But I also think, like in Game 3 with Weaver and Holmes, I think the bullpen was kind of just out of gas that game. They've been used a lot this postseason. Combined in 38.2 innings pitched, the Yankees bullpen has a 2.56 ERA with a 3.76 fielding independent pitching. So that's pretty good. But the Dodgers bullpen has been relied on a lot more. They've pitched a combined 57 innings pitched with a 3.16 ERA and a 4.10 fielding independent pitching. So, like I said, the Yankees' key in this series to me is jump on their starters early and then get to that bullpen because eventually, that bullpen could maybe shut you down in game 1 and they could be really, really good, but at a certain point they're going to start to get tired, especially if you chase their starters early. So in a 7-game series, that's where bullpens get exposed, and I think the Dodgers bullpen is kind of at their limit. So Vanessa and Naman, what are you guys seeing from the bullpen, the starting rotation, just the pitching staffs in general? What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really been following the Dodgers bullpen other than the fact that Walker Buehler hasn't really been um hasn't been able to pitch for a very long time, only like you said with the 4 innings. I'm just really, really, really happy with what I've been seeing from the Yankees bullpen, specifically Luke Weaver. He's just really been dominating, except for game 3. I think that was just like a little strange incident, and then Clay Holmes coming in after, I just don't think was the best idea just because it was a very high pressure situation. But Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon, they just dominated in those games in the ALCS. And if they really just stick with that and the Yankees just jump on those Dodger starters, I think game 1 and game 2 could be theirs.
Yeah, so going off of that a little bit, I think my two main keys for the Yankees pitching, this is the most obvious one possible, but Garrett Cole. If he's pitching 3 out of the 7 games for us, considering this goes to a 7-game series, those are 3 games that we can really take home and take advantage of the fact that our starting pitching has been far better than the Dodgers starting pitching. So if Garrett Cole is really able to show what he's been his entire career, what he's been throughout the playoffs, even just let up 1 to 2 runs max, I think that will be great. And if he's able to get through at least 6 or 7 innings, then we only have 2 to 3 innings to cover with our bullpen. And like both Aiden, Vanessa shared, like our bullpen has been dominant. And if they only have to cover 2 to 3 innings, I think that's something that we can easily do. And now another player that hasn't been mentioned as much, but really needs to get credit is Jake Cousins. I think especially in that last game, he was a key. And I think again in this series against the Dodgers, he'll be a key reliever for us. Um, Going back to game three, one of the main reasons that Luke Weaver was able to be hit is because they were putting him in every single game of the series. Now, if you consistently put out the same pitcher, no matter how good they are, teams are usually going to get used to them. And I believe if we're able to throw in a little bit more of a mix rather than just really nailing down Clay Holmes and Luke Weaver for every single game and throw Jake Cousins in there, who may I say has had the most nasty stuff, just unpredictable. His off speed, his fastball has just been, his movement is just ridiculous. And honestly, if you look at his stats throughout the season, he's been really good. And I believe he's had an xERA in the low threes, which is something that really is only a Matt Blake experiment that ended up working out. And so if we're able to really throw him in some of those key spots and not solely rely on Luke Weaver, I think this will really make the Dodgers hitters have to put together their best games and it'll challenge them the most.
Yeah,
Yeah, what okay.
I think the only two concerns might really be with the bullpen is one, exhausting those closers, putting them in every game, which I think Boone kind of learned from that game three experience. The other small concern might be Nestor Cortez coming into the game. I mean, he hasn't pitched at all in October, for this year at least. So I don't know how much they're going to be using him, which I don't think it will be a lot just because he has been dealing with an injury. But that just might even be like the slightest concern.
Yeah, I honestly don't mind putting him in some like reliever role if we need to. If one of our starters doesn't go long, getting even 2 to 3 innings out of him might not be a bad look. But I think they really got to be a little bit cautious with his pitching. If you see anything bad, even if it's just a couple hard hits in the first inning, you got to get him out of there because we can't afford to risk really any game.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting to see where Nestor might fit in on the roster. Like he's going to be on the roster, but I just wonder whose place he's going to take. Like does he take Trent Grisham's spot off the roster or does he take Tim Meza's spot off the roster because Tim Meza's a lefty, but he's not exactly that effective. I do imagine Nestor is going to be kind of in a kind of interesting role. He might be needed for, 2, 3 innings at some point in like a game where a starter gets chased early, or, say Tim Hill isn't available one night, then Nestor gets the lefty lane in the Dodgers lineup that night. But you guys talked a little bit about, how uh with Luke Weaver and Clay Holmes, the Guardians kind of got familiar with them, and that's why they got hit so hard in game three. You learned the same thing the other way, too. Emmanuel Clase just could not pitch against the Yankees in this series. The Yankees have gotten to him a lot before, actually. They got to him once in 2022. I remember Glaber hit a walk-off off him, I believe, and then there was one game in April this year against the Guardians where they tied it up in the ninth. Volpe hit a huge double, I think, off of Clase to tie the game up, and then they ended up losing it in extras. But that's it right there. You give teams good enough chance to get used to a any kind of pitcher, really. They're gonna start to get on them. So that is something I would like to see from Boone is, don't use Weaver unless you have to. Like if there's a 3-run lead, you might want to use Weaver for that save situation, but say you're up 1-0. Say they win game one and then in game two, they're up 3 runs in the ninth. Try and use someone else. Don't use Weaver if you don't absolutely have to. If there's a big enough lead and you feel comfortable enough, try and ease it up with him so the Dodgers don't get on him too early. So let's just do a little bit of predictions now. Um, who's gonna win the series? If you got, you know, World Series MVP, anything you think might happen. I think the Yankees. I I really don't know who's going to win this series because this is going to be a really, really competitive one. But I think the Yankees are going to win in 7 games. That's a little bit of the fan in me, but I do think the Yankees are the better team overall. In our club meeting for playoff predictions back in the beginning of October, my bold prediction was that Gleyber Torres would win World Series MVP. But right now, I think I might have to change that to Soto. He's been on a mission. He's been clutch. And I think he's going to have a big series because not only does he want a ring to be immortalized in Yankees history, but he wants some extra dollars on that contract. And I just think he's kind of in a better position to win World Series MVP than Glaber because uh, Glaber's more of a table setter in that leadoff spot. And he has really been slugging the ball a ton. He has, I believe, 1 home run in the postseason. He hit one back in game 1 of the ALDS. And then you got Soto in the 3 hole. So he has a lot of RBI opportunities and he's been slugging the ball a ton. So what are you guys predicting? Who do you guys think's going to win? Who's going to win World Series MVP?
Yeah, I'm definitely saying Yankees in 7. It might be, again, a little bit biased, but they definitely do have the better team. And when they faced the Dodgers in the regular season, they weren't totally like at 100% because Juan Soto was injured, which going off of your point of him being MVP, I totally agree on that. Just because he has probably been one of the more consistent hitters, just for getting on base and even hitting those really clutch home runs. I mean, again, and you also have Stan who's been on a mission as well, but he's just been more of that power hitter. So if you're looking at it from a consistency perspective, I would just say it's a Juan Soto MVP win all day.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a little bit more of a Yankees fan than even the both of you guys. I'm gonna say Yankees in 6. I know this is an extreme stretch, but honestly, I think the Yankees, just solely because of their starting pitching, they'll really be able to string together some good games. Uh, Again, like I said, if Cole is really able to dominate, at least in his first 2 starts, that's 2 huge wins. And just seeing how well-rounded our offense has been, which we really haven't seen throughout the year, but they've really come together in the playoffs. Seeing Glaber hit, seeing Volpe hit, seeing a lot of the bottom of our order the bottom of our order really able to string together some good at-bats. That just makes me a little more confident. Rizzo's been also able to get on base, which is really as much as we can ask from him. We can't really expect too much power from him at this point, but just because of the fact they've really been able to pass it on to the next guy, I think that's something that'll be super important. My other bold prediction is that Judge will show up in the World Series. He's been on his way back. He's been able to hit some homers as of late. And if Judge goes back to the player that we saw him carry us to the playoffs and what he's been all year, and in my opinion, very clearly the best player in the league, I think he'll be able to outperform Shohei and really just put the team on his back a little bit. Even though Stanton's been carrying him so far, I think he's really going to be able to show what he's about. So yeah, Yankees in 6.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say I mean, I guess that's just kind of at where we are at with Judge right now. It's a bold prediction that he's going to show up in the World Series, but I think so too. I think he's going to show up as well. I he does hit well in Dodger Stadium, I believe. He feels like he hits a home run every single time he's
Yeah.
there.
One
So
thing, though, I would like to support you guys on about 7 games is the fact that if you look at the Yankees and Dodgers head-to-head records going back 60 games, they've consistently just switched off on who wins. Like to give some examples, for the last 10 games, they've been 5-5. Last 18 games, they've been 9-9. And dating all the way back, like I said, to last 60 games, they've been 30-30 against each other. I think that's one of the craziest stats I've seen because if you go back, if you literally go from 2 games, 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, all the way up to 20 games, and then all the way down to 60 games as well, they've had an exactly identical win-loss record against each other. So I guess there's a possibility that this continues, and then game seven is the one that sort of breaks the tie.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just it's such an interesting series. I really do think it's going to be back and forth. I mean, to be honest, I th we say we're biased for picking the Yankees in 6 and 7. I've seen Yankees fans been saying they're going to win in 5, which just seems so out of the question to me. I don't think there's any way you keep the Dodgers to one win. But I think maybe that could happen if the Yankees just get to their bullpen early. But I really don't know. But I think that's all we got for you guys today. You
Well,
guys,
well,
you
one
guys want
quick
to talk about
stat that
anything
I
else?
would
Yeah.
like, one quick fun stat I would like to end on, not related to either of the active players playing right now, but if you guys know what CWPA is, it's sort of like championship win probability added. And since we were talking so much about our closers, how dominant Luke Weaver has been, this is a cool stat that I just pulled up. And if you look at the top five CWPA playoff career win percentages for closers all time, if you look at number five, that's Kenley Jansen at 0.4%. Craig Kimbrell at 3.7%, which is still ridiculous considering he added basically 37% of World Series to the team. Then we got Francisco Rodriguez at 5.3%, Shea Franco at 16.9%. And then at number one, at a ridiculous 183%, it's Mariano Rivera. So this is just a completely mind-blowing stat to me because the fact that he nearly won the Yankees 2 World Series on that crazy run from in '98, I think that's a great place to end on. Just the fact that Mariano Rivera is the greatest closer of all time, and
Yeah, but is Emmanuel Clase? Yeah, I think he might be better,
oh
Naman.
yeah,
I think Emmanuel
you should ask
Clase
Austin
is
Hedges
some.
about that actually. He
Yeah,
might have
what
some
a
different opinions.
ridiculous take. You never, that's a death sentence. You don't compare yourself to Mariano Rivera. Like
Exactly.
you just don't
It
do
was
that.
so
There's,
funny because literally after game three, an Instagram reel came out per usual with everyone trying to add in their 2 cents that Emmanuel Clase is better than Mariano Rivera, and then they just cut to the back-to-back home runs, and that just absolutely killed me. It was so funny.
yeah, he had a bad series, Class A. He really did. But yeah, I think that's all we got. Another big guy in the bullpen. Just want to shout him out, Mark Leiter. He did a
Yeah.
really awesome job. Did give up a couple runs, but he was put in a pretty bad situation. I believe he had one pitch that was like one of the biggest pitches in championship win probability added since like for the Yankees since like 2015, I want to say, but I digress anyway. I think that's all we got for you guys today on this episode of the Fordham Sports Analytics Roundup. As we said last episode, we're aiming to bring you guys a lot more episodes in the future in this academic year. We're aiming to try and do once a week. We want to bring on some fun guests as well if we can find any. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on our socials on Instagram, Twitter. I'm Aiden Bayshops. That's Naman Lakani and Vanessa Kosuda. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Go Yankees.
Go Yankees.